Marta usa un martillo.
Marta uses a hammer. Marta uses a hammer.
Luis toma un destornillador.
Luis takes a screwdriver. Luis takes a screwdriver.
Juan agarra una llave inglesa.
Juan grabs a wrench. Juan grabs a wrench.
Ella mide con cinta métrica.
She measures with a tape measure. She measures with a tape measure.
Pedro corta con una sierra.
Pedro cuts with a saw. Pedro cuts with a saw.
Marta clava un clavo.
Marta hammers a nail. Marta hammers a nail.
Luis aprieta un tornillo.
Luis tightens a screw. Luis tightens a screw.
Juan afloja una tuerca.
Juan loosens a nut. Juan loosens a nut.
Ella usa un taladro.
She uses a drill. She uses a drill.
Pedro lima una tabla.
Pedro files a board. Pedro files a board.
Marta guarda el martillo.
Marta puts away the hammer. Marta puts away the hammer.
Luis pinta con una brocha.
Luis paints with a brush. Luis paints with a brush.
Juan corta con cúter.
Juan cuts with a box cutter. Juan cuts with a box cutter.
Ella arregla la bisagra.
She fixes the hinge. She fixes the hinge.
Pedro mide la madera.
Pedro measures the wood. Pedro measures the wood.
Marta usa una pistola de clavos.
Marta uses a nail gun. Marta uses a nail gun.
Luis aprieta el tornillo con destornillador.
Luis tightens the screw with a screwdriver. Luis tightens the screw with a screwdriver.
Juan corta metal con una sierra.
Juan cuts metal with a saw. Juan cuts metal with a saw.
Ella revisa el nivel de la mesa.
She checks the table's level. She checks the table's level.
Pedro marca la madera con lápiz.
Pedro marks the wood with a pencil. Pedro marks the wood with a pencil.
Marta usa un alicate para doblar alambre.
Marta uses pliers to bend wire. Marta uses pliers to bend wire.
Luis cambia la hoja de la sierra.
Luis changes the saw blade. Luis changes the saw blade.
Juan ajusta la llave inglesa.
Juan adjusts the wrench. Juan adjusts the wrench.
Ella limpia la brocha.
She cleans the paintbrush. She cleans the paintbrush.
Pedro perfora un agujero con taladro.
Pedro drills a hole with a drill. Pedro drills a hole with a drill.
Marta golpea el cincel con martillo.
Marta hits the chisel with a hammer. Marta hits the chisel with a hammer.
Luis aprieta la tuerca con llave fija.
Luis tightens the nut with a spanner. Luis tightens the nut with a spanner.
Juan mide la ventana con cinta métrica.
One measures the window with a tape measure. One measures the window with a tape measure.
Ella corta una tabla con serrucho.
She cuts a plank with a handsaw. She cuts a plank with a handsaw.
Pedro lija la superficie de madera.
Pedro sands the wooden surface. Pedro sands the wooden surface.
Marta afloja tornillos con destornillador plano.
Marta loosens screws with a flat screwdriver. Marta loosens screws with a flat screwdriver.
Luis pinta la pared con rodillo.
Luis paints the wall with a roller. Luis paints the wall with a roller.
Juan clava clavos pequeños.
One hammers small nails. One hammers small nails.
Ella usa la llave de tubo.
She uses a socket wrench. She uses a socket wrench.
Pedro afila la hoja del cúter.
Pedro sharpens the cutter's blade. Pedro sharpens the cutter's blade.
Marta instala bisagras en la puerta.
Marta installs hinges on the door. Marta installs hinges on the door.
Luis aprieta el tornillo de la bisagra.
Luis tightens the hinge screw. Luis tightens the hinge screw.
Juan corta una cuerda con tijeras.
One cuts a rope with scissors. One cuts a rope with scissors.
Ella marca con regla metálica.
She marks with a metal ruler. She marks with a metal ruler.
Pedro perfora la pared para colgar un cuadro.
Pedro drills the wall to hang a picture. Pedro drills the wall to hang a picture.
Marta ajusta la llave de carraca.
Marta adjusts the ratchet wrench. Marta adjusts the ratchet wrench.
Luis cambia la hoja del serrucho.
Luis changes the handsaw blade. Luis changes the handsaw blade.
Juan usa alicates para cortar cables.
Juan uses pliers to cut wires. Juan uses pliers to cut wires.
Ella mide la altura de la mesa.
She measures the table height. She measures the table height.
Pedro golpea suavemente con maza de goma.
Pedro taps with a rubber mallet. Pedro taps with a rubber mallet.
Marta aprieta el tornillo con llave Allen.
Marta tightens the screw with an Allen key. Marta tightens the screw with an Allen key.
Luis corta el tubo de plástico.
Luis cuts the plastic pipe. Luis cuts the plastic pipe.
Juan marca la pared con lápiz.
Juan marks the wall with a pencil. Juan marks the wall with a pencil.
Ella usa un taladro inalámbrico.
She uses a cordless drill. She uses a cordless drill.
Pedro lija la esquina de la mesa.
Pedro sands the table corner. Pedro sands the table corner.
Marta clava clavos grandes.
Marta hammers large nails. Marta hammers large nails.
Luis ajusta la puerta con destornillador.
Luis adjusts the door with a screwdriver. Luis adjusts the door with a screwdriver.
Juan corta la madera con sierra eléctrica.
Juan cuts wood with a power saw. Juan cuts wood with a power saw.
Ella aprieta la abrazadera metálica.
She tightens the metal clamp. She tightens the metal clamp.
Pedro perfora un agujero profundo.
Pedro drills a deep hole. Pedro drills a deep hole.
Marta alinea la estantería con nivel.
Marta aligns the shelf with a level. Marta aligns the shelf with a level.
Luis corta un tablero con caladora.
Luis cuts a board with a jigsaw. Luis cuts a board with a jigsaw.
Juan afloja la tuerca oxidada.
Juan loosens the rusty nut. Juan loosens the rusty nut.
Ella pinta la valla con brocha.
She paints the fence with a paintbrush. She paints the fence with a paintbrush.
Pedro cambia la hoja de la caladora.
Pedro changes the jigsaw blade. Pedro changes the jigsaw blade.
Marta fija la estantería con taladro.
Marta secures the shelf with a drill. Marta secures the shelf with a drill.
Luis perfora madera con broca fina.
Luis drills wood with a small bit. Luis drills wood with a small bit.
Juan coloca tornillos largos.
Juan places long screws. Juan places long screws.
Ella aprieta pernos con llave fija.
She tightens bolts with a spanner. She tightens bolts with a spanner.
Pedro corta aluminio con sierra manual.
Pedro cuts aluminium with a handsaw. Pedro cuts aluminium with a handsaw.
Marta lija la puerta de madera.
Marta sands the wooden door. Marta sands the wooden door.
Luis golpea el clavo hasta hundirlo.
Luis hammers the nail until it sinks. Luis hammers the nail until it sinks.
Juan ajusta la bisagra de la puerta.
Juan adjusts the door hinge. Juan adjusts the door hinge.
Ella mide el marco de la ventana.
She measures the window frame. She measures the window frame.
Pedro usa taladro de columna.
Pedro uses a drill press. Pedro uses a drill press.
Marta corta la cuerda gruesa.
Marta cuts the thick rope. Marta cuts the thick rope.
Luis perfora metal con broca especial.
Luis drills metal with a special bit. Luis drills metal with a special bit.
Juan clava estacas en el suelo.
Juan hammers stakes into the ground. Juan hammers stakes into the ground.
Ella lija las patas de la mesa.
She sands the table legs. She sands the table legs.
Pedro afloja el tornillo oxidado.
Pedro loosens the rusty screw. Pedro loosens the rusty screw.
Marta golpea la cuña de madera.
Marta hits the wooden wedge. Marta hits the wooden wedge.
Luis aprieta el tornillo del estante.
Luis tightens the shelf screw. Luis tightens the shelf screw.
Juan marca líneas con lápiz y regla.
Juan draws lines with pencil and ruler. Juan draws lines with pencil and ruler.
Ella corta la tubería de cobre.
She cuts the copper pipe. She cuts the copper pipe.
Pedro fija la bisagra con tornillos.
Pedro secures the hinge with screws. Pedro secures the hinge with screws.
Marta mide la tabla para cortarla.
Marta measures the plank to cut it. Marta measures the plank to cut it.
Luis usa un compás de carpintero.
Luis uses a carpenter's compass. Luis uses a carpenter's compass.
Juan golpea el punzón sobre metal.
Juan strikes the punch on metal. Juan strikes the punch on metal.
Ella ajusta el tornillo del pomo.
She adjusts the doorknob screw. She adjusts the doorknob screw.
Pedro perfora un agujero para tornillo.
Pedro drills a hole for a screw. Pedro drills a hole for a screw.
Marta lija la superficie pintada.
Marta sands the painted surface. Marta sands the painted surface.
Luis corta madera contrachapada.
Luis cuts plywood. Luis cuts plywood.
Juan aprieta los pernos de la mesa.
Juan tightens the table bolts. Juan tightens the table bolts.
Ella usa una pistola de silicona.
She uses a glue gun. She uses a glue gun.
Pedro clava clavos en la pared.
Pedro hammers nails into the wall. Pedro hammers nails into the wall.
Marta mide el armario para instalarlo.
Marta measures the wardrobe to install it. Marta measures the wardrobe to install it.
Luis perfora la madera con broca ancha.
Luis drills wood with a wide bit. Luis drills wood with a wide bit.
Juan corta el cable eléctrico.
Juan cuts the electrical cable. Juan cuts the electrical cable.
Ella ajusta el tornillo del enchufe.
She adjusts the socket screw. She adjusts the socket screw.
Pedro usa una llave de impacto.
Pedro uses an impact wrench. Pedro uses an impact wrench.
Marta corta vidrio con cortavidrios.
Marta cuts glass with a glass cutter. Marta cuts glass with a glass cutter.
Luis afila la hoja del hacha.
Luis sharpens the axe blade. Luis sharpens the axe blade.
Juan aplica aceite a la bisagra.
Juan applies oil to the hinge. Juan applies oil to the hinge.
Ella suelda 2 piezas de metal.
She welds 2 metal pieces. She welds 2 metal pieces.
Pedro corta cerámica con radial.
Pedro cuts ceramic with an angle grinder. Pedro cuts ceramic with an angle grinder.